Hi, everyone. That was cool. So I'm really not a public speaker, and I don't know how this is going to turn out, because I usually just do food demos, and this is my first time just being up on stage without props for a long time. So we'll see how it goes. I just wanted to ask a question just to kind of get me comfortable with who's out there listening to me. How many of you guys are here with, and this is kind of a personal question, and I understand if you don't want to raise your hand or anything, but some of you have been talking to me this weekend, so I know there are some of you out there. Does anyone here have rheumatoid arthritis or Lyme disease or another autoimmune disease? Okay. All right. So that actually is what I've been dealing with over the past 12 years or so, and so I'm going to talk to you guys from that perspective, someone having those three diseases going on in their body. And I want to start by telling you the end of my presentation, which is what I've learned over the past 12 years of dealing with this severe disease in my body, is that healing is the process of letting go of the limitations, physical, mental, and emotional, that keep you from experiencing that which brings you satisfaction and joy in your life. So that's a pretty broad definition. And for years, I was thinking that healing meant to cure yourself, to not be sick, physically sick anymore. And so this definition is kind of exciting for me in the past few years. I've just been kind of mulling it over, and it's really come into more clarity for me in the past year. And I want to share with you guys how I got to this definition. So I'm going to actually just speak my truth to you guys, and I don't know how it's going to come out. I might get emotional, whatever. So let's go with some notes here that I have. I'll tell you my history and how I was diagnosed and what that was like. I started presenting symptoms at summer camp, and I was 11 years old, 12, and I have blocked that out in my mind, but I had a rash, a fever, and some aches and pains, like I had the flu, and I remember specifically being in bed, in my bunk bed at summer camp, and my counselor just kind of freaking out a little because I was starting to get a fever, and I can't quite remember the details if I went home early or not, but I remember that over the coming weeks I started to get this terrible rash, and the fever got worse, and I started to get joint pain. So obviously that sounds like Lyme disease, right? And I went to the doctor, and they tested me, and it came back negative, and more on that later. But so I went on to specialists, and I went on to eventually a rheumatologist. And I was labeled as having systemic juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. And I began treatment. And that was, the standard treatment, prednisone, ibuprofen, or naproxen sodium. I think I did both, and methotrexate. So I went down that route, and I also started doing things like juicing and massage. And we went to NIA, which is they're actually out in the lobby right now, and I got lots of different opinions, and so we went the holistic route and the conventional route right from the beginning. So I've been juicing for 12 years. I love saying that. It's kind of cool. And I've also been doing a lot of, let's see. Let's talk about college, because that's always fun. So that all happened in middle school and high school, the combination of the holistic and the conventional. And I experienced, a lot of positive things from the holistic. It helped me a lot. The conventional also helped me a lot. And then in college, things got really, really crazy. And I actually just saw my freshman year roommate. Her mom is right here, and so it kind of like shocked me. So she probably already knows that we did some crazy things that year, so this won't be a surprise. Anyways, you guys know at college everyone drinks and eats pizza and stays up really, really late. And so that's what I did. And I did it to excess. And I joined a sorority, and I stayed out late, and I drank and I ate food I should not have eaten. And my symptoms got really bad. And I don't think I cared. I was, at that point, I just wanted to get a business degree, move to the Bahamas, manage a hotel, and then eventually start buying property and building hotels. So that's where I was headed, and I was starting new medication that year as well, because my symptoms were getting worse because of my lifestyle, I'm thinking. So I experimented with Plaquenil and sulfasalazine, and I had such a severe reaction to those two medications that they put me in the hospital. And the nurses knew that I was on that medication, and they continued to give it to me through the night that I was there. And the next morning, I actually went home. I don't remember the exact details, I'm sorry, I was kind of out of it. I had a fever of 105. This medication gave me a fever of 105. Which is one of the symptoms of systemic juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. And so that was not, for me, anything that had never happened to me before, but it was scary being away from my parents and in the hospital in Blacksburg, Virginia. So if any of you have been to the hospital in Blacksburg, Virginia, it's kind of... So anyways, I was in there overnight, and my hallmates were there, and my roommate was there with me, and I went back to my dorm sometime the next morning, and my roommate, Rachel, did some Googling to find out what the side effects of this new medication was that I had started, and that was when we realized that it was the medication that was giving me those side effects that had put me in the hospital. So that was one of these moments where I just thought, wow, something's got to change, something's wrong. And so I think, so that was kind of midway through freshman year, and then I went for like 6 months, and I was kind of, I had already known about juicing and gluten-free and organic. We had already made all those transitions, and I was juicing at like 8 a.m. in my dorm room or my apartment and waking up my roommates and everything. But I started reading more, and I decided to do a huge, just complete allergy elimination diet. So after that crazy experience with Plaquenil and sulfasalazine, I thought, I'm going to just try it and see what happens. And I eliminated wheat, dairy, red meat, soy, corn, and eggs, and chocolate, and alcohol. Or anything with yeast, I think it was. Not anything with yeast, it was just alcohol okay. So, anyways, I felt amazing. I felt absolutely amazing. All of my symptoms went away. I'm not kidding. All of my symptoms, joint pain, fatigue, rash, fevers, I felt like I was cured. And then my sister came down to visit for her birthday. And that was after April 16th at Virginia Tech. And so that happened my freshman year. And in the summer after my freshman year is when I did this allergy elimination diet. And then I went back in the fall to live in an apartment, and I had every intention of continuing this allergy elimination diet, and I did for quite a while. And then September 6th, my sister comes down for her birthday, and Dave Matthews had put on that concert for Virginia Tech students. And so my sister came for that. Every student was able to bring a guest, and so that was kind of like my birthday present to her. And I also decided to go out and get some gluten-free brownies for her birthday to celebrate. And so brownies had chocolate. And I also decided to have some beer that night. And I also decided to have something with eggs. I can't remember, but I remember it was eggs, beer, and chocolate that I had that day. And if any of you know about allergy elimination diets, you know that you should only introduce one thing at a time. And so I introduced 3 things that day. And the next morning, actually it might have even happened that night, but I remember waking up and all my joint pain was back and my rash was back. And so you would naturally think that I came to the conclusion that I should avoid eggs, beer, and chocolate, right? Well, I was at college and I didn't want to, and I went the remainder of my sophomore year just kind of halfway doing this allergy elimination thing and deciding in the spring of that year that I wanted to start another medication because the allergy elimination was just too hard. It was like if that was what it was going to take to be symptom-free, I didn't know if I wanted to commit to that. So which is crazy, right? I was young. And so I started another medication called Orencia, and I went to New York that spring with my mother, and it was rainy and wet and cold, and I don't think I was sleeping well, and I wasn't taking care of my body, and I think somehow I picked up an upper respiratory infection, and I was coughing a little bit, and I went into the doctor for my next infusion. Orencia is a monthly infusion, and so I went in for the infusion, and we told the nurse, we said, I have a little bit of a cough, because you're supposed to. They say, please inform your doctor. I'm sure you guys see all those rheumatoid arthritis drug ads, right? They're all over the place. Okay, every time I turn on the TV, I can't get rid of it. I can't escape this. So it's like constantly telling me to take these drugs, and then they tell you all the horrible side effects. And Enbrel, let me pause for a minute and go on to Enbrel, because that's a drug that I have been on in the past. And in the advertisement for Enbrel right now, they say lymphoma and cancer, is one of the side effects. And in high school, when I was on Enbrel, I actually started seeing an oncologist. Is that what? Okay, so an oncologist, because I had wacky blood test results. And it looked as though I was developing lymphoma. So I went to Johns Hopkins and got the tests and everything. And this is before they really came out and started telling you that that was one of the side effects of Enbrel. So at Johns Hopkins, they diagnosed me with large granular lymphocytes, and it never really turned into anything scary like lymphoma, but it seemed like it was on the way there. So I stopped Enbrel, and I've never gone back. And so I've kind of so that was the Enbrel thing, and then going back to Orencia, so I told my nurse that I had a cough and that I wasn't sure if I should do this infusion, but I think they took my temperature and asked me what my symptoms were, and they looked down my throat and everything, and then they were like, you're fine. So we did it, and that was my last Orencia infusion, and that upper respiratory infection stuck with me until this past spring. So, and I don't know why, I'm sure I need to see some sort of physical therapist, because coughing every 5 minutes for the past 3 years could not have been good for my skeletal system. I've kept you guys awake so many nights because of that. And so I really do believe that was something to do with the Orencia and my lifestyle in college. So that was kind of the last straw for me as far as conventional medication. So I guess what I'm telling you is that I started out from the beginning with holistic and conventional treatments, and throughout college I had just time after time just negative experience with the conventional treatments. And so I decided that I wanted to really pursue the natural treatments. And I'm going to tell you my big moment, one more college story, and then I'll move on to the rest of the presentation. So I told you I joined a sorority, and I started dating. I got into this terrible, draining relationship, within 3 months of getting into college. And that was kind of what drew me to this crazy lifestyle of drinking so much and not sleeping and eating pizza at 12 a.m. And so the climax of my college experience was at the Sigma Chi formals at Myrtle Beach. And I was there with this guy that I had this toxic relationship with, and it was like this evening dance thing, dinner, dance, whatever, and then he was just plastered. He was one of those guys that it was rare to find him sober. And so I went back to my hotel room because I didn't know where he was, and I just said goodnight to everyone, and I went back and I turned on the TV, and I was watching Desperate Housewives of Atlanta, Georgia. Nothing else was on. It was 1 a.m. and it was just repeats, and And I was sitting there watching it, and so you guys laughed, so I think you all know the show that I'm talking about. And so you know how pretty much ridiculous that show is, and how hard it is to watch these women say these things and act this way. And I was just kind of mesmerized, like staring at it. And I started thinking, what am I doing? Why am I watching this show? And I just felt like so disconnected from who these human beings were and who I was as a human being and what I was experiencing and what they were experiencing, and just this huge disconnect. And then it turned into, what am I doing in this hotel room? What am I doing in Myrtle Beach? Why am I here with this guy? Why am I here with these friends who are all wasted right now, and I'm in this hotel room experiencing something profound? And no one cared and no one knew. And this is the part that's going to get me emotional, but that was my moment. That was my moment. And I just said, I'm going home. So, excuse me. How many of you guys have had that moment? How many times have you had that moment? Okay. Well, that's what I'm going to talk about today, because I think every single person in this room has asked for healing at some point in their life, even if you don't know what that means or what it's going to bring you. And that's a very brave thing to do. So give yourselves a pat on the back for that. So I asked for healing. And what I didn't realize at the time was what healing meant. I didn't know what I was asking for. And that's what I want to tell you about now. So just a summary. Over the past 12 years, what I've been doing, a lot of people don't know how dedicated I have been to the holistic healthcare movement and what I've tried and what I've put my body through. And so 12 years of holistic experimenting, the different dietary protocols that I tried over this period, no nightshades, allergy elimination, raw vegan, GAPS, specific carbohydrate diet, body ecology, anti-candida, mono food, and fasting. Mono food, I don't know if that's the technical term, but I've heard it used before, is where you eat just one or two foods at a time and you rotate. I've been on and off the Cowden protocol, the Booner protocol for Lyme disease, probiotics, almost every brand, you name it, I've been on it. Heavy metal chelation, parasite cleanses, liver flushes, kidney cleanses. Superfoods, this is what my pantry looks like right now. Meditation, acupuncture, acupressure. A 12-year-old getting acupressure in year 2000. It was new, and they were saying that it could cure juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. I've had massage, chiropractic care, reflexology, Reiki, psychic readings, tarot cards, color therapy, muscle testing, hypnotherapy, life coaches, health coaches, Bowen work, yoga, tai chi, dance, chanting, affirmation cards, gratitude, sauna, skin brushing, oil pulling, grounding, zapper, essential oils, colon hydrotherapy, enemas, coffee enemas, implant enemas, juicing, wheatgrass, Epsom soda baths, ginger baths, salt lamps. I had my braces taken off, put back on, permanent braces or permanent retainers taken off. Removed plastics and chemicals from the kitchen, gone pretty much all organic and local foods. Organic sheets, loose clothing, HEPA, is that how you say it? HEPA, HEPA vacuum filters, air filters, non-toxic paint, EMF protection, natural skincare. I use coconut oil pretty much exclusively on my body. Sunshine, deep breathing, laughter, and stretching. So I've been really experimenting with all these things. Oh, so I was going to go back to this and tell you some stories about some of these in particular in a moment, and those are the ones I bolded. So, how many of you guys have tried some of those things? How many of you feel like this is the story of your life? Okay. So what I didn't realize was that when I asked for healing, I was asking for, God or whatever to take away the physical pain because it was unbearable. And I wanted a normal life. And so I wanted the pain to leave me. But what I'm telling you is that over the past 12 years, I've experienced that these things can relieve some pain and they can make you feel better. But for me, None of it took away my pain completely except the allergy elimination diet, which I have actually gone back and recreated to no success. So that actually has been a huge disappointment for me. And that's one of the biggest disappointments that I felt, is that the one thing that I was, drove me to go home and really try this, I've tried again and it didn't help. And can you imagine how disappointing that is? To be so sick for so long and think that this is really going to work for you, and then it doesn't. And I've been chasing after this cure for so long through diet and all these methods. So, and I feel like there are other people out there who feel that way. And so I want to tell you what has been my thought process since coming to that depressing realization that, okay, like this really isn't working for me. I've tried everything. Okay, I haven't tried everything, I know that, but it looks like it, right? Okay, so over the years, I have been given additional challenges on top of the physical health challenge. And what I want to tell you is that it feels like setbacks, it feels like you're not getting anywhere. But actually what is happening is that you are healing and you're being pushed and you're being given challenges and setbacks that are actually helping you tweak your journey and continue to push you in the right direction. So healing, the process of letting go of the limitations, physical, mental, and emotional, that keep you from experiencing that which brings you satisfaction and joy in your life. So I had this huge physical limitation, but what I didn't realize was that when I asked for healing, it wasn't just going to be healing me from the physical limitation. It was going to be healing me from the mental and emotional limitations as well. I was asking for healing, a total package. And I didn't know this at first, that that's what healing meant, is that you're going to not just heal from physical, but also from mental and emotional limitations that you have. And so if you're not open to that, if you're not ready for that, if you're just asking for one little obstacle in your life to go away, and you're just hoping that will go away and everything else will stay the same, that's not going to happen. If you ask for healing, you're going to get it, and it's going to be intense. Okay, so the only thing to do is to work through these obstacles as they're presented to you, or limitations, obstacles or limitations, and they're keeping you from experiencing the life you want to experience. So that's what this whole thing about healing is that you're letting go of all these limitations that you have so that you can experience life the way you want it. So let me, I call them mini catalysts because I think it's better than calling them setbacks or challenges. So along your healing journey, you will experience challenges, you're processing through something, you have a lifestyle change maybe that you decide to take on because of that challenge, and then you're going to process through it some more, and then you're going to experience some bliss. So you're going to go like this throughout your healing journey. And sometimes you'll go like this, and sometimes you go like this, and you'll get really happy for a while, and then you'll have a huge setback, and maybe some protocol that you tried will present something new for you, or maybe your God forbid family member will pass away while you're dealing with this health challenge, or maybe you'll go into debt, or you'll be presented with all these different challenges, what I like to call catalysts for change, for you to be able to let go of these limiting mental, emotional, and physical beliefs that we have that keep us from experiencing what we want in life. So what I realized is that I had asked for this healing journey, and I was going through this cycle over and over and over again, and I was experiencing lots of ups and downs, and it was very confusing. And I actually want to tell you about some specifically because I think it'll help you. And this goes back to the slide that I had with some of the highlights. So I'll give you some examples of my biggest mini catalysts for change and healing. One of them in particular is let's see, what do I want to start with? Okay, I call them aha moments, or catalysts. You kind of like have this thing, and it makes you really, it kind of throws you into a depression or whatever, and then you have an aha moment, and then you go back up. So one of them for me was heavy metal chelating. I got really into that for a while. And I really want to talk about this, and this might be the only one that I talk about because it's so important to me. Jason was up here talking about cilantro and chlorella yesterday for heavy metal chelation. And so I'd heard that. I'd been to a longevity conference. David Wolf talks about it. Daniel talks about it. Everyone talks about the chlorella and the cilantro. So I've been doing that for a while, and I actually decided to take it further because my doctor did a urine analysis on me and found that I had lead and cadmium and one other, and I'm blanking on it now. So I thought, okay, I need to take this a step further. You know, eating chlorella and cilantro all the time obviously isn't helping enough. And I also knew that back when I was first diagnosed, Naya had said that I had a heavy metal problem. And so then my doctor, 12 years later, does this test and blah, blah, blah. And so I decided that I was gonna chelate, finally. And I felt so good about that because at the same time, I was also getting retested for Lyme disease. And so if you have Lyme disease, you know all about the biofilm and how Lyme disease can hide itself in the body, the spirochetes, and they pull metals in around them and enclose themselves within the heavy metals in your body and hold on to them so that your immune system can't attack them and remove them. So I was like, yes, I know, and finally I got the correct diagnosis of Lyme disease. I'm sorry I totally skipped over that, but it's not important. I basically got retested and they showed that I did have some spirochetes in my body. So, and then I decided to do the heavy metal chelation, and I thought, good, so I'm gonna get the metals out, my liver will start working properly again, I'll detox, my lymph system will get more clear, and then my immune system will be able to go after the Lyme disease properly. And so I started heavy metal chelating. I did what the doctor said. I took 100 milligrams of DMSA twice a day, one in the morning and one at night. And I did this for three days on and 10 days off. And I started it last October, so that might surprise you, it's just a year ago, so it's kind of a new thing for me. And I went up to Boston to visit my sister, and I could not walk up her stairs. She lived in a basement apartment, and we went down there. I couldn't walk up her basement stairs without holding onto the railing and pulling myself up, literally. How many of you guys have been in so much pain or you've been so tired and so weak that you have to do that? Okay, so I didn't realize until I got home that something serious was going on. I thought, okay, maybe this is just some arthritis symptoms coming back. But I got home and I started to get these awful itchy white bumps on my fingers. And all the swelling in my fingers went down all of a sudden, and all these itchy white bumps came up, and on my feet. And this was Thanksgiving at this point. It had been like a month delay from when I did that chelation, or like 3 weeks. And I was freaking out. I had clay in my bathroom, and I was putting clay on. I was soaking in Epsom salts. I was itching. I was putting ice on it to numb it. I was taking Claritin, and I finally realized this has got to be the heavy metal chelation. And so I talked to my doctor, and we really do think that's what it was. And immediately I started researching, and I found a few books on heavy metal chelation, and I thankfully came across the Andy Cutler protocol. And that's what I want to spend a little bit of time talking about. I'm going to deviate from my talk for just a minute because I realized that a lot of people have questions about heavy metal chelating. So I joined this Yahoo group called Frequent Low Dose Chelation, which I highly recommend that every single person in this room join, because the stories, it's called Frequent Low Dose Chelation. Yahoo groups are wonderful. I've been on several over the past years, and the stories of healing that happen from certain protocols in particular are quite remarkable. I've been on the specific carbohydrate Yahoo group and heard mothers talk of having their autistic children look at them and tell them that they love them for the first time after being on the diet for 3 days. Can you imagine? Your child is 10 years old and has never told you that they love you. And then after 3 days of being on that diet, they look at you and say, I love you. So Yahoo groups are powerful. So I highly recommend you join this Frequent Low Dose Chelation group, Frequent Low Dose Chelation. And what it is it's a DMSA chelation, which is what I had been doing, but it's frequent doses and it's low, low, low doses. So I told you I was on 100 milligrams twice a day. I am now on 3 milligrams every 4 hours. I wake myself up at night. The reason why I decided to continue with the DMSA chelating but go down to this frequent low dose amount is because the way I reacted. When you react to DMSA, it means that you are very, very toxic with heavy metals. DMSA is a man-made synthetic antioxidant, and no one should have a reaction to it unless you have heavy metals in your blood. So if you have a reaction to it, it means that it is pulling heavy metals into your bloodstream and trying to eliminate it. But at a certain point, the life of the DMSA, you know how things have half-lives and then they get broken down in your body? So the half-life of DMSA is like 4 hours. So that's why you take it every 4 hours, because if you don't and you let it go beyond the 4 hours, the heavy metals will be pulled out into your bloodstream, and then they'll be dumped there, and they will stay there. So the DMSA needs to be replenished in your bloodstream every 4 hours. And so that was my problem. When I was taking that massive dose, it pulled all of this heavy metal out into my bloodstream, and then it left it there. And you know what your body does? It's like freaks out, and it says, God, I got to get this out of my bloodstream, and it puts it into a whole new part of your body, because it doesn't remember where it came from. It's just trying to get it back out of the bloodstream. So that's what was going on. And basically, I've been doing this frequent low-dose chelation for a while. I took a long break after that 100 milligram issue, and I recovered. So over the past year, I've been really working on my adrenals and getting that back together, because heavy metal chelating is really taxing on your adrenals and your kidneys, and you have to be very careful. And so this frequent low-dose chelation has been sitting well with me. And 3 milligrams is actually lower than what they recommend, but I couldn't tolerate 5 milligrams, which is what they say. So I'm doing this, and on the Yahoo group, that also was something that convinced me to do this even further, because of the stories that were being told. And what I want you to do is go on there and just see the kinds of symptoms that people are having that frequent low-dose chelation is helping them with. Because I believe that so many of us have heavy metal toxicity that don't even think we do. And I think that this is so new for me, so I don't want to really say this, but I'm going to I think that it could be that with iodine to protect your thyroid from radiation. I think that low-dose, frequent-dose heavy metal chelation might be one of the other most important things that we can do supplement-wise for our bodies in this day and age. So that was a huge, huge depression or down for me last year along my healing journey. But as you see, it was also a huge catalyst for change. Yes, it was a setback, but it was, look at what I was challenged to do and process through something, and now I'm going to be feeling so much better because of it. And I can't tell you guys the final result of this. Maybe next year I will be able to have more information on that. So anyways, that was a long tangent. But anyways, I wasn't prepared. Let's go back to my story now of how I transitioned to this new idea of what healing is. I wasn't prepared for the healing. I wasn't prepared for all these things to be thrown at me. I wasn't prepared for the extreme downs that I would experience as I was going through the healing process and trying out these protocols. So there were moments when, like I said, I was dragging myself around and I just didn't feel like getting out of bed. There were times when I just sat on the couch, all day. And it's kind of been the story of my life, sitting on the couch and wishing I wasn't sitting on the couch, wishing I was outside. And you have a lot of time to think when that happens to you. Has anyone else been in that situation where you've been so sick that you've just been in bed and you have so much time to think on your hands and you start thinking about some pretty crazy things? Okay, so I'm going to tell you about what I was thinking about when I was in bed, sick. I asked myself some really tough questions. And if you're on my email list, I actually have been writing a lot about this recently because I had a huge a challenge processing through something about 2 months ago. And I am completely expecting to continue going through this my whole life. So I'm very happy to be going through these, and every time I go through I learn so much about myself and what I want out of life. So the tough questions, you start to ask yourself really tough questions when you're in bed and you can't get up. Sometimes because of arthritis, I couldn't walk. Sometimes I couldn't get out of bed. I live with my parents, and I am so grateful to them because we've gone through an amazing journey together, and they help me out so much when I go through the downs. And sometimes I call my dad in the middle of the night and ask him to bring me some ice because my foot is just throbbing and I can't sleep. So that doesn't happen. It used to happen in college a ton, but it actually hasn't happened too often. It happened once this summer that I can remember. So anyways, you're in bed and you're like, oh my God, what is my life coming to? So I ask questions like, what am I doing here? Why am I on this earth if I can't participate in life? why am I even here if all I'm going to be able to do is lay in bed and not talk to anyone and not experience anything? So then it turns into if you're brave enough and if you're optimistic enough, it turns into what do I have to experience? What does my life have to look like? What has to happen in my life right now for it to change into a life that's worth living? How many of you guys have asked that question? That's a scary place to be. So, and it doesn't have to be scary. I've asked myself that question many times over the years in different places, in cars, driving down 81. It's not a good place to ask yourself that question. I hope I'm not scaring my parents right now. I just want to tell you guys how difficult it can be. And I hope that it's inspiring because I want you to see what you can do with a question like that. So when that would happen, and when I was brave enough and when I had enough optimism and hope and faith in me, I would pull out pen and paper and I would write down what my life would have to look like for it to be worth living. I think I'm going to share with you what that is. So this is really personal, and we don't talk about it very often with each other, what our life would have to look like for it to be completely 100% wonderful and worth living. We're scared of what people will say to us if we tell them our true dreams, our true desires. And we worry that people will judge us and will tell us all the things that are going to make it too hard for you to get there. And we're worried that they're going to tell us, you can't do it that way, you have to do it this way. Or that they might make you feel obligated to do something else with your life. Or they might make you feel bad or guilty because it means that you're going to be spending more time on yourself. So I decided at some point that none of that mattered, because it was either that or laying in bed the rest of my life. And that might have been a little dramatic, because obviously I could have gone to my doctor and gotten prednisone at any time and felt a lot better. But, and I guess I failed to mention that at this point I had shunned all pharmaceuticals. So that is why I had been experiencing such extreme downs, because I was refusing to take Advil and prednisone and things like that. And I was going just 100% holistic. So I wrote down what I want, what my new life is going to be like if I want to feel better. And I've done this so many times over the years. And this is kind of silly, because just this past summer, it's so recent, but it's the first time that I've really felt brave enough to 100% jump in and commit to this. So I'm going to share with you what my life is going to look like now. And I have 20 minutes. Okay. So one story that will help me before I tell you my list is that I also did the Booner protocol for Lyme disease. And it was 2 years ago that I started that. And I was about to run this yoga retreat, and some of you who are at the retreat are in this room right now. So I was on this Booner protocol. It was kind of new, and lots of herbs and lots of high doses of herbs, and 4 times a day herbs. And I was 2 weeks into it, I think, or 3 weeks into it, and I had this yoga retreat. I woke up at 4 a.m. that morning or 5 a.m. and I had a fever of 104 again. And that when that happens, my parents get really worried and everything, and we were kind of wondering what should we do. And I think I basically took Advil and went to the yoga retreat, and I did the retreat. It's a half-day retreat, and I led the retreat, and no one knew I had a fever or anything. And then I went home and I got in bed, and I didn't get out of bed for about 6 weeks. And this was 2 years ago. I'm sorry, this was 1.5 years ago. So it was January 1.5 years ago, and I came back from that yoga retreat, laid down in bed, and I proceeded to have a sore throat and not be able to swallow or eat anything. And I could swallow a little bit of water and stuff. And I can't remember if I was actually like not able to hold it down or not, but anyways, I wasn't taking any liquids or solids. And when that happens for a prolonged period of time, you know, your blood pressure drops, you don't have any electrolytes in your system, and my pain got so bad that I started taking cough medicine or something, you know, to stop the coughing, because it was pain and coughing and, you know, all this stuff like you had an upper respiratory infection. And the fever, and gosh. So I called over my friend, and who's like a healer, and I wanted her to come over and just help me with some stuff, and she brought her buffered vitamin C powder and started me on a vitamin C, whatever you call them, what do they call them, flush, vitamin C flush. And it was like a last-ditch effort, but I was really in bad shape. And that night I took more cough medicine, and I started hallucinating. I didn't have any like electrolytes in my system, and I was seeing things and hearing people talk to me that weren't in the room. Can you imagine? Have any of you actually ever experienced that? I never thought I would. I heard about it, I was like, that sounds cool, whatever. But it happened to me, and it happened for like 4 days. And in that process of hallucinating, we had decided I was gonna go to my doctor out in Maryland who had an IV system and could flush me with electrolytes and everything. And then we got like to the Beltway, and I looked at my dad and I was like, no, take me to the hospital. I didn't feel comfortable standing on my own. We went into the hospital, and it was the rest in ER, and we called our good friend who works in a hospital and asked his opinion, and he said, go to Georgetown. And the rest in hospital said, go to Georgetown. We don't have any rheumatologists here. Or we don't have, you know, anyone who specializes in what's going on with you long term. So I got taken to Georgetown, and this is a funny story. I'm telling you this because it's just funny. I was laying in the stretcher, and my mom was on my left, and the technician or the EMT, whatever you call them. And I swear it was snowing in there, and they were communicating telepathically to each other, and I could hear their conversation. I was like, wow, have I finally transcended or whatever? Like, I thought it was real. I don't think I realized at that point how severe my situation was. And I got to Georgetown, and they had a room waiting for me, and I was in the ICU for how long? 4 days. And it felt like 10 hours to me. I don't know, maybe I was asleep most of the time, but I remember I had some exploratory or what do you call them? You know, they went and got some stuff out of my lungs. Apparently I was acting like a 16-year-old, spunky 16-year-old in front of the doctors, telling them that I know how to take care of myself better than you do. And I was watching movies on the wall in my emergency or my ICU unit, but there was no TV in there. It was just like in my head there was a movie playing on the wall. And then there were bugs on my brother. He was there. He came up from Richmond to see me. He was really worried. And there were bugs in the room all over us, and I wasn't even freaking out. It's just like, okay, I know I'm hallucinating, Kylan. There are bugs all over the room right now, all over us. And it was just wild. So anyways, I was in the hospital for 4 weeks or so, different things, spinal tap. I came home with one of those things, giving yourself antibiotics on your own, a PICC line, yes. God, that was a scary experience, having it put in. You know what, they put this tube up here, and it goes all the way, and they put it stop it right before it gets to your heart. I called my friend, my life coach, who I've been going to for years now, and I cried to her on the phone. I said, all I want to do right now is get out of this hospital. Like, that is the only thing that matters to me right now. I know 100% in my heart I should not be here. Well, I was wrong, because I needed to be there. I was really sick. But anyway, so that's how desperate I was. I just wanted to get home. Everything was messed up. Everything was messed up. So I got home, and I was also on a lot of painkillers and a lot of drugs, so everything was crazy. But I got home, finally got over that, found out that it was a staph infection that caused, I'm sorry, I left you guys in suspense for a really long time there, didn't I? I now have a scar up here. People think I had my thyroid out, but that's where the staph infection was. And it turns out that one of the herbs on the Booner protocol shut down my immune system. So I put myself in the hospital and racked up a $200,000 hospital bill because of an herb. Because of a $10 herb that I got online. It's really embarrassing to tell you guys that. But I just want to tell you that gave me a whole new perspective on holistic treatments. And when I tell you I've been through it all, I know I haven't, but I have. I mean, once you experience that, you just, you know, it was a big mistake that I made, and I'm very careful now with things like that. So when I got home from that, I said, 6 months before that, I had been to the longevity conference in California, had an amazing experience, was like, why aren't people like that on the East Coast? And so I went, and then I went in the hospital and had this whole thing I just told you guys, and then I got out of the hospital and I was like, this is it. My life is starting now. I'm not waiting any longer. I'm doing a conference on the East Coast because that's what I want to do. It's just a matter of when. And that's when I met Ryan. And it's funny because I went on that herb again that I told you guys stopped my immune system. I went on it again when I got out of the hospital because I didn't realize at that point that's what it was. But when I went on it, after 2 weeks, my gums started bleeding again, which was one of the symptoms I had earlier. And when your gums start bleeding, you know you've got an infection. And then I was like, that was my sign. My gums started bleeding again, and I was like, it's the herb, because that's the only thing I did. And I went on and I researched it all, and I found that could be a symptom. And I actually, all my gums fell off while I was in the hospital too. And they've completely regrown without surgery or grafting or anything. So, and I think that's due to nutrition. Anyways, I'm getting on a tangent again. That was the story of how the Take Back Your Health conference came to be. And that's why we're all here, because I almost killed myself with an herb. Okay, so I have 20 minutes until the next speaker comes on. Okay. Let's see. All right, so basically, I want to tell you guys that you're on the right path, and you're all beginning to experiment with things like this. And I want to give you permission to experience the ups and downs and the challenges and take them as opportunities to change and to let go of some of the limitations in your life, because you've asked for healing and that's what you're going to get now. Okay, so healing, the process of letting go of the limitations, physical, mental, and emotional, that keep you from experiencing that which brings you satisfaction and joy in your life. The only thing that you need to do is work through the obstacles or limitations that are keeping you from experiencing them and be open to change. And it's easier said than done, right? So this is the cycle that everyone goes through. You go through it monthly. Women go through it monthly. We go through it yearly as the seasons change. We go through it in our lifetime. You know, the midlife crisis, the quarter life crisis, all these things. We have crises, challenges. We process through things. We experience bliss, and then we go through another crisis, and then we have lifestyle change, and then we have bliss again. So it's these cycles, these ups and downs. And I just want to tell you guys, it's totally normal. You can be depressed, and you can be happy in the same day. Or you can be depressed for a month and then happy for a month. Or you can go in the hospital and have an experience like me, whatever. It's gonna happen to you, just ride it out. And now we're gonna talk about how to get into a place so that you can experience this healing journey without it having to take maybe 12 years and $200,000 like me. Okay, so support system. I've kind of thought about this over the past year, and what a support system would look like. So when I start working with people, sometimes it's tempting just to jump right in and tell them you need to do heavy metal chelating. But what I have found is that over the years, there are certain things that help me keep me grounded and physically, emotionally, and mentally strong so that I can withstand things like what happened to me with that heavy metal chelating. So if I had gone into heavy metal chelating without having this support system, it would have thrown me totally off the wagon. And that's what ended up happening to me. You know, every few years I would fall off the wagon totally and completely. And it's taken me a while to really realize that having this support system keeps you from going not quite so far down when you experience the down. So it's maybe more of an even ride through your healing journey. Are you guys following me so far? Okay, good. So I've got 4 things up here. Your mental state, feel-good treatments, nutrition, and community of support. So I believe that if you focus on these 4 areas before you begin things like heavy metal chelating, and you really get your support system under you, you will have a much smoother ride. Okay, so let's talk about what feel-good treatments are. There are certain holistic treatments that when you do them over a period of time, they can have a profound effect. Like colonics are more effective if you do a series of them than a single one, right? But if you do a single one, it still can have a profound effect on your physical being and your mental being, even if it is short-lived. And the same with massage. The same with taking a walk or getting a nap or sitting on the biomat or having a reflexology massage. And so over the years, I have really committed myself to taking time for those treatments. And it has helped me significantly, colonics especially. And I've actually been doing colon hydrotherapy and enemas for about 3 years now, and I'm very open to talking with you guys about that at the end of the day if you have questions, because I know it's a topic that a lot of you have questions about. So some of these feel-good treatments are a good thing to have and to do on a regular basis, just so that you kind of keep yourself feeling good and having some energy throughout, you know, on a sustained, so maybe like once every 2 weeks you go get a treatment or something. So that's one aspect. And then nutrition is the other thing that can really create a wonderful support for you and give you more energy and stamina as you're going through these things. I would never put anyone on a heavy metal chelation protocol without having the right nutrition in place to support them and their adrenal glands as they go through that chelating process. So, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on nutrition. I have so much to say about it, but what I really just want to say is that, and I think it's very simple, and to say it this way, this is my only real protocol or rule about nutrition. When you have a meal, don't eat more than 5 ingredients in that meal. Maybe 4 would be even better. So what I mean by that, well, I'm basically saying keep it simple. Keep your meals simple. When you're this sick, like I have been, your body cannot handle lots of different things, and it likes very simple meals that you sit down and you eat and you chew properly. So I would eat things like steel-cut oats with butter and sea salt, or a baked sweet potato with coconut oil and raw honey, or a smoothie with some greens and some local fruit. And just give your body a chance to just experience these very simple foods, and that's kind of the easiest way to tell you guys what I believe about nutrition. I also really believe that local food and seasonal food is extremely important, not only for our bodies but for the planet, which if the planet is healthy, our bodies will be more healthy as well. So nutrition, that's kind of all I'm going to say about nutrition now. Community of support and mental state are the ones that I want to focus on the most, because those have been in the past, the recent past, the most effective support systems for me when I focus on making sure that my mental state and my community of support is there. So let's start with community of support. When you're sick, when you're first diagnosed, you don't know what to do, you don't know who to tell, you don't know where to turn, you're very scared. If you have people who are close to you in your life, I would highly, highly recommend telling them what's going on with your health. There's all these debates on the autoimmune disease forums about whether you should tell your family, your friends, and your boyfriend or whatever. And let me tell you why I recommend that you tell people. And you don't have to tell everyone right away, but over time I think it's important to tell people, because number one, you're going to lose a lot of friends, and people are going to think that you're being a bitch if you don't show up for things because you're sick, okay? So just be honest, all right? That's one reason why to tell people, but the other reason is because when you decide not to tell people about what's going on with you, you are making the decision, you're saying no to receiving love, okay? You're letting your pride decide for you whether you get to experience love in your life. And when people know what's going on with me, and sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want the attention, I don't want people to feel bad for me, I don't want people, that's a little bit of pride getting in the way, but it's also maybe you're feeling guilty, like you don't deserve the attention or the love or the support. I don't know what's going on, a lot of different things are going on there, but let me tell you, when people know what's going on with you and you don't feel well, and they love you through it anyways, it is very wonderful and healing and can help you get through a lot of tough times. So my family, thank you. You've been really wonderful with that aspect of my healing. And then, another story I want to share with you is when I decided to tell my sorority that I was leaving college. That's another good story I should tell you guys. So they all knew that I had health problems or health blessings. So anyways, I was at this Sigma Chi formal in Myrtle Beach, came home. The very next weekend, I went home to my real home, and I told my mom I needed to come home from college. Is that okay for a semester and get back on track? And I think deep down I knew it was going to be a permanent leave from college, but at the time I was saying it was just a semester because it was scary. And so I went back to college. I went back to Virginia Tech after that weekend with my mother, and we made the decision. And I was actually just nominated for a officer position in my sorority, and I had to call in the president and tell her, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be here next semester, so I can't do it. And so they asked me to tell the sorority, and so I got up at our Sunday meeting, and I told them, and I was shaking, and I was just like, you guys all know that I have these health challenges, and I just want to tell you that I'm going to be taking a semester off. And 2 weeks later at the Tri-Delta formal, I was in Tri-Delta, and so we had our formal like 2 weeks later after I had told everyone, and some drunk guy that was dating one of my pledge sisters spilled the beans, and a bunch of guys in Sigma Chi and Tri-Delta and another fraternity had organized a group to do the Jingle Bell Walk, the Arthritis Foundation Jingle Bell Walk in my name. They were surprising me. There were like 50 of them, and they had all signed up and paid to do this walk in Roanoke at like 7 a.m. in the morning. Can you imagine? I was like kind of buzzed from like some vodka and stuff, and I was sitting there and this guy was telling me, and I just started crying. And the rest of the night I was like I didn't want people to know that I knew, but I knew, and it was like the most wonderful thing that had ever happened to me, I think. Can you imagine being in that situation, knowing that you need to go home from college and that you weren't going to ever go back to college? And then having all those people sign up and paying money and getting up at 7 a.m. to go for a walk. They're all like jocks, so they love that type of stuff. But anyways, that was a really good closing experience for me in college. But I'm just telling you, like, when you tell people, you never know what's going to happen and what good is going to come from that, and just be open to it. So get your community of support in order. If you know you need to make nutrition changes, lovingly explain to your family what you're going to do, and say that I don't expect you to make these changes with me, but it would be nice if you made it easy on me. If you need help preparing meals, don't be afraid to ask. It's a lot to ask someone. It's a lot to ask someone for that kind of help, and it does some damage emotionally, because every time you ask, you're like, oh my God, I hate to ask you this, but I really need help. I'm like so sick feeling right now. But ask, okay? And if they say no, they say no. And if they start to resent you, love them and show your love for them. Give them hugs. Thank the people that are helping you. Give it back in any way that you can. Sometimes I couldn't give it back by preparing meals for them the next day. But it's something I've been working through and trying to do much better at, is just love them, show them my love and gratitude. So that's how you can repay your community of support in return for their support. Okay, so that's community of support. Now, mental state. This is one that I want to spend some time on, because I want to give you guys a chance to, I don't want to spend too much time. I want to give you guys a chance to ask questions. So I do a few exercises. When I say mental state, I mean your outlook on life, what you're telling yourself in your head on a second-by-second basis, an hour-by-hour basis, on a long term, what you believe your life is going to be like and what you want for your life, and whether you're happy in your life, and whether you're telling yourself you can or can't do something, and how you're judging yourself and how you're judging others, and what you think your limitations are. So anyways, your mental state, how you can get out of a limited mental state so that you can open yourself up to good that can come to you in this healing journey. You want to get out of a limited mental state. There's a couple of techniques that I use, and I'm telling you this because I really, really believe that everyone should be doing this. Okay, pray, and I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about desperate, please give me the strength to get out of bed this morning and do something in this world. I mean, you don't have to say, dear God, dear Lord, who art in heaven, whatever. Just, please give me the strength. Please give me the strength. Please give me the strength. Over and over and over again. Whatever that means for you. Sit in silence and don't be afraid to hear what your mind is telling you. Listen to it and be open to working through the things that are coming into your head. Imagine what you want your life to be like. Visualize it. This gets me through the doctor's waiting room. You close your eyes and you imagine you're sitting on a beach. Like that country song. He's in the dentist's office and sits like on the beach with the Corona in his hand and the sun's shining and everything's okay, but he's really in the dentist's office. Just play around with that idea. Stop the negative input. You know, if there's someone in your life that is super, super negative, I know we talk about this a lot and it's like, but I can't cut them out. Cut them out. For goodness sake, you are on a mission to heal and live the life that you want to experience, so cut them out if they are draining you. Okay? Now that sounds harsh, but I'm a sweet person, so I'm not really being harsh. Stop the negative input through people and through media. I mean, my dad's so sick of me telling him to turn the TV off. Sometimes, but I'm so fragile at times, like my energy, because I don't know, that's just who I am, and I literally can't even take crowds sometimes. And that's not a weak thing. It just means that you're sensitive and you're open and receptive to things that are going on, and you're receiving all this negativity because you're like you're open to all these life experiences, and you're gonna soak up some negativity. So just try to, while you're healing, just kind of remove yourself a little bit, turn the TV off earlier at night, don't watch the news, the world isn't gonna end. No one is going to lose all of their money and be homeless on the street without anything to eat. I mean, maybe, but we're gonna be fine, okay? Come live with me if that's gonna happen to you. Okay, and then let go of your judgment of others, because seriously, every time you judge someone, say, am I okay with me telling myself the exact same thing? I mean, this is such a complex issue, and you guys can do with it what you want, but over the years, I've just been so sick and not even able to wash my face or wash my hair for weeks at a time, not exaggerating there, and so I've let go of all judgment. I mean, I walk outside sometimes looking like crap, even though I feel great, and it's like they say you dress how you feel and to show the world, present yourself to the world. Who cares, really? And stop judging others, okay? Just be who you are and show up for life. It doesn't matter what you look like. And then this is the last thing. This is one of the last two things. Affirmation cards. Louise Hay. It may feel really silly to tell yourself over and over, I love myself, I am wonderful, I deserve this, I let go of limiting beliefs and fears. But let me tell you, I did this for a month at the same time I was visualizing living on the water in an apartment. And 3 months later, we moved into a beautiful apartment and rested on the water. And every morning I woke up and got to sit on the balcony, and the sun was beating down on me, and I looked out on the water. And I don't know if that had to do with being open to the good, but I really love these affirmation cards and visualization and asking for what you want in life. So I want to give these to someone, and I think there was someone in the audience who came up to me yesterday who said they're looking forward to hearing me talk because they have an autoimmune condition. Will you come up and get these? Will you hand these back to her? Here. Read them every night before you go to bed and when you wake up. Okay, and the last one is gratitude. I wanted to do some writing exercises with you, but we're not going to have time. I kind of got carried away up here, but gratitude has been the biggest transformative exercise that I've done, gratitude practices, and what it does is it helps you to see all of the good things that you actually are experiencing already, because sometimes the pain and the disease can cloud your vision, and you think that all that you're experiencing is the dis-ease. So you work very hard, and every night before you go to bed, you write down 10 things that you're thankful for. And then you go back and you reread them and you say, thank you for this. Thank you for this. And you feel the gratitude with all of your heart. So let me give you an example. My brother was recently engaged, or has recently proposed to his girlfriend and now his fiancée. So this summer my sister also got married, so we've had a lot of love in our world this year. And just sitting in bed, but knowing that goodness is coming into my family and happening to my family and the people I love, just brought me so much gratitude. And I sat there and I was just, thank you for making my brother so happy. And thank you for this love, between my sister and her husband. And thank you for bringing these two new wonderful people into my life. I have a new brother-in-law and a new sister-in-law. And I'm just so grateful. And what I realized is that gratitude feels the same as love. So if you don't know what gratitude feels like, it feels like love. So experiencing that love as much as you can will open you up to so much goodness you can't even imagine. I spent all night, Friday night, 2 nights ago, I couldn't sleep because I was so jacked up for this event, and I couldn't sleep, so I was like, what am I going to do? So I sat there and I did my gratitude practices. And today David Wolf showed up. So that's your support system there. Healing is the process of letting go of the limitations, physical, mental, and emotional, that keep you from experiencing that which brings you satisfaction and joy in your life. And I just realized I did not tell you what my new life is going to look like. Gosh darn it. I'm sorry, Lara, you're going to be a little bit late. This is my conference, so I can go over. Yeah. All right, well, anyways, I can't find that paper, but I'll just tell you. Yeah, I don't know. I remember what it says, guys, don't worry. I want to never ever feel inhibited from singing again. Yay! I'm taking voice lessons. I want to dance again. So I started taking a little bit of prednisone. That's really hard for me to tell you guys. But I'm going to be starting waltz and swing dancing lessons this week in Charlottesville. I want to continue with these conferences. I want them to be really big. And I just trademarked the Take Back Your Health phrase. It's my trademark now, and I'm going to make it really big. And I want to go to art exhibits. I want to enjoy art. I want to collect art. I want to create pottery. I want to help people through their healing journey. I want to, the guy that takes you in the boat through the Hades River, whatever. I want to ferry you guys through your healing journey into heaven, not hell. And I want to laugh and all those things. I want to go on a road trip. I want to have an honest to God, real life road trip from LA to Arizona through Las Vegas. And I'm going to have some vodka there too. And I want to fall in love many, many times. I'm not scared anymore of getting my heart broken. I don't care how many times I fall in love and get my heart broken in this life. I think it's the most amazing thing to experience, and I'm looking forward to it. So that's what my life is going to be like from now on. I'm going to do what I want, and if I offend any of you guys along the way, I apologize in advance, and that's the last time I'll do it. Healing is really different for everyone, and for me, that's what my healing journey has been like. And I just want to tell you guys to be open to good. Okay, that's my main message, because the goodness will come into your life if you're open to it and you ask for it and you're not afraid of the goodness. So thank you.